Hello and welcome back to another episode of Conversations with G&G. Today we have a special episode lined up. Our wonderful co-host Danni Synot will be sharing her insights on a deeply meaningful topic, the role of meaning and purpose in caregiving. Welcome, Danni.
Hey, Giselle and Gio. Great to be with you again.
Thanks for coming.
It's a bit weird being on the opposite end of the, questions today.
How would you define purpose and why is it such a vital component of our well-being?
Yeah, I think it is exactly what you say, Giselle. It is a very important component of our well-being because purpose is really what drives us in life. It's our why. Why do we exist? And you find people asking those main questions at some point in their life, especially if they're deep thinkers. Where do I come from? Where am I going? Why am I here? All of those deep, meaningful things. And we find that even out of that, we have things in life like our values. What do we appreciate? What do we not appreciate? What do we feel is healthy and life-giving? What kind of pricks our conscience about things? And those values, if we have conflicts with them, often make things in life really difficult. In relationships in particular, if you've got two different people, whether it's a work relationship or a marriage or friendships, when those things are out of alignment, there's often conflict. And a value conflict sometimes is really the hardest thing to be able to resolve. And so if we don't know who we are and what our purpose is in life and why we're, for example, in a relationship with a particular purpose or in a job with a particular purpose, it kind of leaves things a bit wishy-washy and we don't ever have that sense of achievement or that sense of fulfillment in our lives. And so knowing our why, knowing our purpose is really integral to every single part of our lives and every decision that we make.
Is it worth sometimes, like if you are in a relationship and there's a clash, realigning or changing slightly so you do align with that other person? Or is it something that you should really stick to, be proud of it and leave it at that?
Yeah, I think that can work both ways. But if you've got a really foundational core value, right, like a typical one is, I believe in God, you don't believe in God. And then there's that whole, I guess, value system because your life and your beliefs, your core beliefs are around those values. If the other person is not on the same page, it's just not something that you can adjust because it's sort of in you and part of you. Whereas if it's something like a learned behaviour or a belief. So I'll go a really top level one. So when my husband and I first got married and we went to live together and we were folding washing and I learnt to fold towels. You kind of fold it in half and then in half again and they're kind of an oblong shape and piled up. Mark was taught that you fold it in half and in half again. It's just a flat square. And I was like, that's not how you fold towels. And he's like, no, that's not how you fold towels. And it was something that we'd done differently. It was a learned behaviour.
Yeah.
And we had to get to a point of, okay, can we live with it? Do we compromise? Do we go, who cares how we fold the towels?
Yeah.
Or, well, if you want to do it that way, it's not a hill I'm willing to die on. I'll just fold them in squares. We do oblongs. It's all good. I got my way in the end. But do you know what I'm saying? That's something that you really need to decide, is this something I can live with or is this something that I can't? And that's why I guess in relationships in particular, it's very important to have those conversations around, when we get married, how we're going to parent our kids, what do we believe on these things, in the dating stages. And same thing for when we get to our careers and our jobs and as carers. Why do I want to be a carer? Yeah. Have that self-talk first. Generally, it's because you actually are someone with that inbuilt compassion. Maybe you've been in a situation where you've had a loved one that's needed care and you understand that position and you value it and you want to bring life and encouragement to people. You want to be there because you're a nurturer. It's sort of in you, opposed to, hey, I just need a job and that's easy, so I'll just go and just got to clean some houses and, take people shopping, completely different attitudes.
That's a good point. When looking for work and you're doing interviews and I think a lot of the time when they're candidate goes to the interview, they might not have any questions prepared, but that's a great one. You have to find out what that employer, like, do your values align?
Yeah. And
It's
even
a
with
good
the
opportunity.
organisation, like with your organisation, what are the core values and the mission of your organisation, and can people work within that? Do the values align?
Absolutely.
You know, and some people don't even think about that if they're just there for money or they're just there for whatever. But I think that old saying really rings true. You know, enjoy what you do and you'll never work a day in your life. You know, if you're going into it with meaning and purpose, you're going to enjoy it.
Yeah.
And, you know, always be elements of things that are a challenge or that we don't maybe particularly like, that, again, we have to go, is this a hill I'm willing to die on? Or is this an opportunity where I can bring some wisdom or knowledge or maybe an innovative thought that could cause some positive change? You know, so I think that all of those things are really important to know.
Yeah. And it's a good point that you raised, particularly, say, for example, at the interview stage. If you're interviewing a candidate and that person has a clearly defined or somewhat defined purpose and values that tell you exactly why they want to join your organization because his or her own values align, and that's a perfect example of a good match, someone that you want to employ. Whereas someone that doesn't have a clear idea or doesn't really know why, or you can tell straight away that they might be there for the wrong reasons.
Yeah.
And that could be a screening question that we often use. It's really powerful.
It is.
That's
it really
right.
is.
And it can also be an indicator of, you know, if the person's very self-aware, very well prepared, that, you know, hey, you might start on one particular level even as a caregiver, but you see that person has a potential for more, and then even as an employer to go, okay, they've got a bit of meaning and purpose in why they want to do this role, but I actually see potential in them for future, and then being able to have an opportunity for them to maybe even grow beyond what they'd seen and have that same meaning and purpose manifest in a way that's, I guess, growing of them and for the organisation and what it can bring for them in the future. So, you know, it can really work both ways. But I think when we're driven internally and honestly, you know, it's huge, and we enjoy life more, you know, and it's better for the people around us. I mean, you'd know what it's like to live or work with somebody who, you know, doesn't have a sense of meaning and purpose, and they can be a bit floaty, or they do the opposite where they're not just floaty, they might be active doing a lot of things, but they never seem to be happy because they're not there for a reason, or they don't have a motivation. And I think sometimes in life too, there's a principle that I teach in my coaching and ministry spaces where we sometimes take people from just the grassroots of life. So for example, with my organisation Brave Enough, we talk about the fact that everybody has a story, your story matters, emerge stronger, then go help the next person up. So basically, even your mess can become your message. So we take people from pain to passion to purpose. Because quite often what we find is when we've had a particular struggle in life or something that's been hard, we've had someone come alongside us and mentor us, or we've found a solution that works, then we want to go and share that solution with other people, because when you love something or when something's worked for you, you want to tell other people about it to be able to help them. And so I think that's the powerful thing too. And I think a lot of people, when they become carers, that's something that's super important to them because they understand the value of it, and then the value that they can bring to bring positive change and a positive experience to others.
Yeah, absolutely.
Sometimes that's also can happen unconsciously. You know, I want to be a carer. I don't know why. I know that I've got this caring meaning that I want to fulfill. And the path to discovery, you know, it's very, very important. How do you get on that track? Well, how do you go through the self-discovery?
Yeah, I think it's different for different people, Gio. Some people, like you say, it just starts off as a You know, they're just a nurturing person. It's just like this natural gravitation and this organic journey. With other people, it can be that there's been some kind of crisis in their life, or, you know, they've got this dissatisfaction and they want to seek it out. And some people, you know, they love like the self-help type books, or they're very in tune with therapy or mentoring and those kinds of things, and they sort of pick it up along the way. Or sometimes someone will be, you know, notice a gift or they can see, I guess, somebody's qualities and see that they're floundering a bit, and they'll just gently come alongside and say, hey, I think you'd be really great at, you know, whatever. And then if you get a really good mentor, they'll come and do that journey with you and help you to unpack that. And, you know, really important if you're going down that line too, to find a mentor that, again, aligns with your core values and that honestly, you know, can seek that in you. There's a lot of people out there, like coaches and things like that too. They just, you know, they're interested in making six figures and getting money out of you. You know, you don't want someone that's leading with that kind of thing. You want somebody that's, you know, maybe got a bit of a track record, or that you have some recommendations from, or that have the same belief system as you as well. Like for me personally, you know, I work in a Christian space because that's my personal faith and belief and value system. So I, for example, my mentors, because even mentors need mentors, yeah, I work in that space. I make sure that my values are aligned in that way. Yeah. Coming up underneath other people to watch them flourish and encourage them into their next place and into their meaning and purpose.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, you raised a very good point. Everybody needs a mentor or a coach, really. And finding the right one is just another topic, but it is a good idea.
It is. And the tools, you know, that are available for that too. I mean, there are tons of self-help and growth tools that can help you to discover your meaning and purpose. I've got some even that I've written that I use even myself that are unique, that help people in that process. And so one of the tools, for example, that I've worked with and has been really helpful for people that are caring even for other people is just to, I think, be in tune with the importance of self-love. And I don't mean that in a selfish way or a narcissistic way at all. But the fact is that we can't pour into others unless we're poured into ourselves. Mm-hmm. And sometimes we don't, as carers, have anyone pouring into us. You know, we're giving all the time, we're pouring out all the time. And sometimes we can even lose ourselves in the routine and the swirl and the demands and needs of the person we're caring for. And that's of no disrespect to the person that needs care. But if we lose ourselves in that process, it can be a really dangerous place. And I know even for myself, I had a point in time where I was caring for 3 of my children. One had learning difficulties, another one had very severe anxiety and couldn't go to school, and the other one had undiagnosed ADHD and sleep apnea and restless leg syndrome. And so, you know, it was just a big space in life, and I was in a transition at the time. And I remember just had the urge to just sit down and just question, like, who am I anymore? Like, I'm someone's carer, I'm someone's mum, I'm someone's, you know, I'm doing radio and media and Christian ministry and everything else, but who am I? Like at my depths, at my core, why am I here? And I'd even gotten to the point, and I think this is a huge one, and it's usually one of the first questions I will ask a client, and I'll say, okay, so what do you do to have fun? What do you do to have fun? When was the last time you laughed your head off to the point you almost peed your pants? Like, seriously, there's a scripture in the Bible, and it says, the joy of the Lord is your strength. So our joy is our strength. And what you find is when you're feeling weak or when you're feeling lost, the joy is missing. You're depressed, you're anxious, you're tired, you're exhausted, you're overwhelmed, which is often the case for carers when they're in that space. So what I did this day is it really frightened me. I thought, this is crazy. Like, I know all the things to do, but I don't know how to be. I'd become a human doing instead of a human being. And so I sat there and I had this big blank sheet of paper and a heap of coloured pens. And I said, okay, I threw it up there to God. For you, it might be the universe or whatever, but for me it was God. And I said, who am I? What do I do? What do I like? And I was just like, first thing that popped into my head, anything custard. Like, that's random. So I thought, okay, well, what are the things I like to eat? What are my favourite things? I'm like, okay, custard. So I started, egg custard, hot custard, vanilla slice, Donut King chocolate eclair donuts with the cream and the custard. And then, I went to roast lamb and I started to think about, why do I like these things? Why are they comfort foods for me? And I'm like, well, every Sunday my grandma did a roast lamb and, I can still remember walking down the hallway and just that waft of the roast lamb, and that represented family time and quality. And that's what brought the joy. So I literally did categories. So I went, okay, what do I like to eat? What are the things I like to do to relax? I like someone drawing on my back and I can just relax, that skin contact. I love hugs. I love a massage. I love sitting by the ocean. And all of a sudden, all of these categories, who's my authentic self? Like if I could just go and buy whatever clothes I wanted, what would I wear? I'd go shabby chic. I'd go with my holy jeans and, where are the places that I've never been that I'd love to go, or where are my favourite places? Who are the safe people that I've got in my corner? My really close, safe friends, and what does that look like? And, what things make me laugh out loud? What are my go-tos if I need a laugh? Like, is it a funny movie? Is it a particular friend that just is a jokester? Is it just pulling out the pranks at home and tying my kids' shoelaces together with all their pairs of shoes, which I've done before, or waiting for my husband to fall asleep and filming it for Facebook and writing hi on his head between snores and, whatever that is for you, right?
Poor Mark.
That's it. But I developed a whole tool out of that because it was so helpful for me to just reconnect with myself. Yeah. And then, what am I on the planet to do? And, before I talked about having mentors that bring that out. So let me give you an example in that space, because I think for our carers it can be important not only to have those people, but to draw on previous experiences where people have pulled that out of us. So I remember one day sitting in the office of a television network that I was working for at the time when I was hosting a news and current affairs program. And I was just sitting there talking with the CEO and we got into a bit of a deep and meaningful conversation. And, I was sort of struggling with what next and where am I and, what's my journey. And he said something really profound but so simple. Yeah, it was just so simple but significant. And he said, Danielle, if you were to die tomorrow, for what would you want to be remembered? And straight off my head I said, she loved. And he said, then go do that. Then go do that. And so I know my core value is to love people, to encourage people, to bring out the best in people. And so that nurturing, compassionate side of things, was good. What else? I love making people laugh. Go do that. Go make people laugh. And so for people when they're in that situation, if you were to die today or if you were to die tomorrow, for what would you want to be remembered? And if you're not aligning with that, you're not doing that, And the funny thing is, in life, we value things like money and success because we feel like that brings a freedom, but that always comes with a price, okay, whether it's our time, giving us ulcers, having all that stress. And money and those things aren't bad in themselves, but if we're doing it to get or we're doing it to build the eventual thing, none of us are guaranteed tomorrow. We're just not.
So true. Yeah.
And so it's not that those things aren't important. They are very important and they can make life a lot easier. But if we don't have that meaning and purpose and we don't know what our lane is as we're traveling along in life, then it gets complicated. And when we stay in our own lane, there's no traffic. because it's ours, right? We can make our own way. And it doesn't mean we don't have challenges and things to deal with.
So, Danni, can I ask you, you were saying you need to find out all the stuff that you love and trying to do those. But how does all that help you finding your meaning and purpose? Where's the connecting dots there?
Yeah. So when you start to unpack, even, for example, like what I said about those lists, we start to see patterns in life. So we then start to look at, okay, obviously, compassion's a big component or encouragement's a big component. So they're what we would call gifts that we have in life. When you look at what are the things that have worked really well in my journey, what are the things that people reflect back to me that they say are strengths, right?
So the stuff that you enjoy and love, basically follow your bliss, right? That's what people say, and that's what gives you juice.
Yeah, but the things that cause a positive effect on others and in the world, okay? Because it's actually not about us. It's not all about us. And if we're not looking after one another, then we're actually not fulfilled. It actually becomes very empty. It's why we seek connection in friendships and partnerships in life. And so we can go to a job and we can do the job really well and we can earn a lot of money, but if we don't love it, if we don't like it, if it's not causing positive change, then there's no long-term fulfillment in it.
It's about giving and contribution, right? Isn't it?
It is.
That's why the job or the career as a carer is so fulfilling and so powerful, because you directly impact quality of life for people, and that as a result that just fulfills that sort of meaning in itself.
That's it. And we've got basic needs, and you can go to models like Maslow's hierarchy of needs and things like that, which works off a pyramid structure, and we need food and we need shelter and we need clothing and
all that, all basic ones they need to be met before you can go to the next level, right?
But love, to be fully seen, fully known, fully loved, to be able to give and receive love. At the core basics of that, if we don't have it, we don't survive. And if you look at, I guess, even nature, right? You look at the way everything's been created. You take dirt. There's a whole bunch of vitamins and minerals and nutrients in dirt that are also present in our human bodies. So, you have fruit trees and vegetables and things that grow and we eat the fruit, and then that goes back into nature. Same with the rain, it comes down, it waters the earth, and then the sun comes in and warms it up and the moisture takes it. Everything gives and receives. Everything's reciprocal. Healthy relationships. In a healthy relationship, you're both pouring out, you're both giving, and you're both receiving. And so it's the same with our jobs as carers. We give and then we get joy because we know we're doing well. So it's like when we refresh other people, we end up being refreshed as well. And so, at the core, if we are walking into that space when we're caring for others and we're already depleted, we don't have anything to give, or we're not really in, we're not going to be fulfilled. But the opposite is also true. If we're there with the right purpose and the right heart, and we know we're where we need to be, man, that's powerful. It's really, really powerful.
I'm so mesmerised hearing you speak, because it's such an amazing reminder to, every day, we're not guaranteed tomorrow. We need to be thinking about what we're doing and why we're doing it and making sure that it's meaningful. I've loved hearing you. It's been amazing having you and giving us this talk about how we can find our own meaning and purpose. So thank you so much for coming in.
You're very welcome.
Thanks for tuning in to this episode of Conversations with G&G. We hope today's chat offered some fresh insight and support for your caregiving journey.
If you're looking for more tools, strategies, or just a bit of encouragement, head over to our website. You'll find resources to guide you every step of the way.
Whether you've just started out as a caregiver or you've been caring for a loved one for years, there's something there for you.
Don't forget to subscribe, share this episode with someone who needs it, and join us next month for another real, honest conversation.